Welcome to the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are your hosts, Cassie and Chelsea. I'm Cassie, a single mom living with a chronic illness who is extremely passionate about living a full and happy life.
And I'm Chelsea, a mindset coach that has a passion for helping people learn to put themselves first and be the best version of themselves each and every day.
We came together to create Spoonies Unite, an uplifting community that offers resources, guidance, and support so you can live your best life while giving you the space to be yourself, be heard, and feel understood. We hope that by providing education from experts, we help Spoonies and their loved ones thrive.
This show is not only for those who live with a chronic illness, but their friends, family, spouses, and just anyone else existing on the earth. Our goal is to normalizing having a chronic illness by sharing the real stories with real people and show the world how relatable those everyday struggles can be. There's a little something in here for everyone.
And of course, thank you to our patrons for your continued support making this possible. If you love our show and want to get some extra goodies, go to patreon.com/TheRealSpooniesUnite. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's show. We are interviewing Kathy Reagan Young, who was a seemingly healthy 43-year-old stay-at-home mom with two little girls aged 4 and 6 when she woke up one day with double vision, extreme fatigue, and Bell's palsy. She was shocked to learn that she had multiple sclerosis, also known as MS. The diagnosing doctor told her he was glad she stayed home and she should never work again, just rest. That was the wrong thing to say to Kathy. When the kids were in school full-time, 2 years later, she went back to work full-time. She loved it, right up until the day she couldn't distinguish between the brake and the gas pedal, or which side of the road she should drive on. She knew it was time to leave work, unfortunately. Her paychecks quit coming, but her bills didn't. So she determined to find a way to work from home that would allow her to rest and take care of herself while still making money. That involved learning and failing and trying again until she monetized her MS patient advocacy website and podcast, FUMSnow.com. Once she figured it out, she was determined to share it with the chronic conditions community. So she created a membership community where she shares all of her experiences and resources called Patients Getting Paid.
We had a really fun time talking to Kathy. She just exudes this amazing energy of just pushing past whatever barriers have come up in her life with an amazing sense of humor the entire time. We cannot wait for you to listen to this chat we had with Kathy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Real Life Show, Living with a Chronic Illness. Today, Cassie and I are so excited to be here with Kathy Reagan Young.
Yay! We're so excited to have you.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Kathy, I know all of our listeners can't see you on video like Cassie and I can, but I just love your energy. I know I was spending some time earlier looking at your FUMS site and your podcast and everything you stand for, and I just love everything you do. And we are so excited to have you on here.
Thank
you. Can you just take a moment or two to kind of share your story, who you are, and just kind of about your journey?
Sure thing. Well, I was a 43-year-old stay-at-home mom when I woke up one morning and everything looked weird. That was how I described it. Like, something's wrong with my eyes, but I don't know what. Weird. And I had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So at that point, there was nothing that was about me. It was all about them. So I just went on my, merry way. But that got worse. And eventually my vision doubled and I had Bell's palsy, and it was and this crushing fatigue that I kept chalking up to, well, I'm a mom, and maybe I'm getting the flu. And long story short, I was doing some marketing for a ophthalmologist at the time, and he had me working on a program, and I called him and I'm like, Mike, real sorry, maybe next week, but I am hurting right now. I think I've got the flu. And I happened to mention that my vision was doubling, and he said, I'll see you in my office tomorrow morning at 7, which freaked me out. I'm like, what do you mean? It's just the flu. So I went in and he took a look and he said, well, I can't tell you what it is exactly, but I can tell you that the vision stuff is called sixth nerve palsy. That is not the answer. That's just a symptom. You need an MRI, and he helped hook me up with a neurologist right away. And so I luckily got my diagnosis quick. It's much faster now, but that was 12 and a half years ago. And it was taking people multiple months, if not years, to get diagnosed at that time with MS, because it's still a diagnosis of exclusion. So they test you for everything and go, well, there's nothing else. I guess it must be MS. So I did get that lovely diagnosis, like I said, 12 years ago. And so once while I was waiting, of course, I did what everybody does, and I went to Dr. Google and saw all the horrific things that this might be, including MS. And I thought, oh my God, what hath God wrought? And so when I was definitely diagnosed with MS, and that, by the way, was the worst thing that I saw on there. I'm like, shit. So after I lived with it for a time and I recognized, hey, there really is life after diagnosis, and it can be pretty good. I thought, I don't want anybody else scared like I was scared because of all the garbage that's on the internet. So I started FUMSnow.com. And by the way, it's called FUMS Now because I wanted just FUMS, but that was actually already purchased by, oh my gosh, First United Methodist School in Kissimmee, Florida.
That's kind of funny.
I reached out to them and I said, I'd like to purchase this from you. And they said, no, thank you. And I said, okay, you're probably going to get some funny emails pretty soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I made it FUMS Now. And it was really just started out because I wanted to share my journey and my attitude, which was to speak to this stupid disease like it deserves and tell it FUMS every day. And like I get out of bed in the morning, literally say out loud, FUMS, like, check me out. I just got out of bed. Like, you're not winning. And so that was the attitude I wanted to share with people. It was working for me. And then this first doctor that I had, who I promptly dismissed or fired, told me that he was so glad that I was a stay-at-home mom and would not suggest that I ever work outside the home again because
That's
MS,
rude.
right? Well, and then he tells me because, MS is really affected by stress. I'm thinking, dude, you have no clue what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom.
I know. It's like
I've never known
the hardest
stress more.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
What? Anyway.
It's so hard.
If you want me to do something, tell me. I can't. So that was kind of, I didn't recognize it at the time, but it was in there. And I was like, okay, when these kids are in school full-time, damn it, I'm back full-time, which I did. And I loved it. I did marketing for a physical therapy company for a few years. But I started with my responsibilities were just for 3 clinics when I started. And I was going to doctor's offices. And anyway, but it expanded really quickly to 8 offices. And so it was pretty high pressure, lots of stress. And one day, so it felt like all of a sudden one day this happened. But in retrospect, for like 6 months leading up to it, I had had little tiny accidents and things like that. So, it was building. And then one day I literally could not tell the difference between the gas pedal and the brake and which side of the road was the right one to be on. And frankly, I had my shit together enough to know this is not right. So I pulled over, called my husband. He came and got me. And that was my last day of work. So I went home and determined to take care of myself and dial my stress down, and all of that was great and needed, and it was good for my health, but it was not good for my bottom line. So I needed to, like I always say, my paychecks quit coming, but my bills didn't. So I really needed to figure out some way to accommodate my health, but still generate an income. So I turned my eyes to this FUMS Now. This was an asset, but I hadn't monetized it. And so I started learning how to monetize and make this into my online business. And I knew zippy about it, not a nothing. And so I went through, I wish I knew how many courses, many of which were scams that I lost a lot of money on. That's a whole different type of education that I got. But I learned. I slowly learned, and I made lots of mistakes, but I learned from those too. So, you win some, you learn some. So pretty soon I figured out, I think the first thing I added was like affiliate marketing. And so every year I would do this first year in particular, I started a holiday gift guide for MSers. And I just broke it into categories, and I suggested products that I had used, only things that either I had used or other MSers that I knew, I could trust. And I would, link out to them. Like I started with just Amazon affiliates. And what that means for anybody that doesn't know is that you sort of recommend or promote a product. And if someone clicks on your unique link, you will get a very small commission. So, of course, the more of that, the bigger your income. And so I started expanding that. And I'm trying to think what the next thing was. I think the next thing was I wrote an ebook with a friend of mine who is a pelvic floor dysfunction specialist, Erin Glaze. She's phenomenal. And bowel and bladder issues are a big issue in MS, and I kept getting questions about them. And I'd go to her and ask her questions, and then I'd go back to that person who emailed me, and I thought, this is completely inefficient. So I asked her if she would write an ebook for FUMSers, and she said, well, I will if you'll write it with me. Let me knock on some wood in my head. I don't have those issues, so I really didn't feel like I had anything to offer, And she said, well, you're kind of a smart ass. So this is an uncomfortable conversation, and I can write the medical stuff, but why don't you zhuzh it with your humor? So that's what we did. Like, she wrote the smart thinky parts, and I wrote the smart assy parts, which is like really good, solid, evidence-based information. And then with like I link out to 70s porn music at one point. So that gives you an idea of the balance of the two. So that was
read this. What's the name of your book?
Okay, can I cuss on here? I think I already
Yes.
said.
Oh, we have an explanation. Yeah, you definitely
All right.
can.
Yay. Okay, so it's called Bowel and Bladder Issues in Multiple Sclerosis by two pea-brains with potty mouths talking shit about MS.
Cute. I have to buy it.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
You have to go look. It's on the front of the FUMSnow.com site. You have to look at the picture because we had this guy do this cartoon of us, and it is hilarious. And I literally just came across the original picture we took. We went to Target and took a picture of me sitting on a toilet. I mean, I had my pants up.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
And
this is
I'm
amazing.
like going, and Erin is standing there in her lab coat, and we had him draw a cartoon of it. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
That was the next thing that I monetized. Oh, and then I started a podcast, and I didn't know anything about that. And that was in 2015, and things were really different in 2015 in terms of podcasting. And it was really,
they've changed so much.
It was so hard. I have to say, other than pushing my children out of my vag, that was so hard. Figuring this out was like, what the hell? I hate
You're like my favorite right now. I literally, the other day was just like, okay, my bumhole and my vag hurt, and I don't know if the issue is in my bumhole or my vag. And the fact that you just said vag, I'm like, yeah.
Sometimes I call her Madge, whatever, or Ina the vagina. We should all name these things. But I digress. So podcasting was so hard. I mean, I thought it was really hard for most people. Certainly anybody.
I can't even imagine starting a podcast in 2015.
It was so hard.
I know the work that we put into building this podcast, and I mean, it's a different world now, as you said then.
Yeah,
so props to you, Kathy.
I cried a lot, and but I figured it out. So and took more of those courses I talked about. But I figured it out, and then eventually I figured out how to monetize that too with ads and how to support my other products with doing ads on my podcast and sponsorships and things like that. So then I was invited to, I'm trying to think of which one this was. There was a test that came out called Isolate MS, which was touted as the first diagnostic test for MS, and they reached out to several MS bloggers and asked if we would come to their headquarters and talk to them. So a bunch of us did, and so I got to meet all these MS, OGs, And we were going somewhere on a bus one night, and I overheard two of them talking about that they write articles, and they're talking about all these different big name companies online that I'm recognizing, but I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, excuse me, are you saying that you write about you and your disease and you get paid? They said, yeah. I'm like, mind blown. What? So I couldn't wait to get home and start looking into that. So there's this entire patient advocacy industry I did not know existed. And it was like total down low. Like you had to know somebody to get in, which is bullshit. I mean, it should be out there for anybody, that is interested and has something to add to this conversation, which P.S. is everyone. Because everybody's, experience is so different and everybody has something to add to this conversation. So I started working with, at the same time though, this was odd because when I was out of town for that meeting, I got an email from a vice president with healthline.com. And he said, we're starting an app and we're thinking of starting a podcast and we haven't done that. And we found your podcast and would you be interested in partnering with us? And I thought, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, I'm totally being punked. Totally being punked. I did not believe it at all. I completely lurked this guy out and checked him out and went, okay, this guy really is a vice president. So we talked on the phone a couple of times, and bottom line was they contracted with me to do 6 podcast episodes for them, which I did. And then they asked if I'd be interested. They needed a guide for their app. So I did that.
That's
and then,
incredible.
Oh, it's been a crazy ride. And then they wanted to start doing live chats 5 days a week. So I started doing that. And then another department from Healthline got in touch with me because they needed somebody to do their admin stuff for their Facebook page. And would I be interested in that? So, yep, super, super interested in that. And then Content got interested in, they saw the blog post that I'd written, and they asked if I would write some articles for them. So did that. And then Health Union started coming around and Everyday Health. And
I'm kind of fangirling right now.
I know, I am too.
You shouldn't be. There's no fangirling allowed here. This is total
It's like
luck. Like you get in there and then all of a sudden it opens up. Like you just dip your toes in the water and you let people know, hello, this is who I am. Like you're totally vulnerable and wide open and authentic and go, this is my story. And, could anybody use it? And they go, yeah, we could. So once I figured that out, and honestly, I'm making more now than I was in my full-time job. And I was telling you guys before we pushed record, I've been in bed for the last week. But I worked from there because I had a horrible MS flare because somebody went through my vein and deposited this contrast in my arm and my body had to absorb it. I'm sorry, that was a little aside.
Oh gosh,
does that
sounds
not
awful.
make you clench just to think about it? It was not good. It wasn't.
Oh, it really does, because I literally just had a CT done like a week ago today, and that is like worst nightmare.
Yeah, it wasn't good. So, but my point is, I was in bed for the last week, but I didn't miss a beat because I had my laptop and I would wake up and I would feel okay. So I would send out an email or I would, whatever needed to be done, post on Facebook. The point was, I didn't have to call anybody and ask for any time off. And I wasn't burning through any vacation days. And I wasn't letting anybody else down. And I wasn't stressed out. I needed to rest. And so I rested and I worked when I could and when I was able. And between recognizing that I'm making better money now and I'm able to take much better care of myself and my family, by the way, I was literally pulling weeds and went, I have to tell everybody. Like, if you know something, you have to share it. Like, that's a rule somewhere that if you figured something out, you need to share with everyone. So, especially the chronic illness community, like, they need a freaking break. They need some help. So when I got this figured out, I went, I really need to share this. What shall I call it? Well, patients getting paid. So that's what I named it and, got a little logo for it and have just been working toward it and on it. And that's been a whole nother Oh my God, tech nightmare, because I don't know anything about building a course and a membership and how to set up all of that. So, but I'm getting there. I'm almost there, in fact. So it's very exciting. I can't wait to help the number of people that I think I can help.
That is incredibly exciting. I am like so inspired by everything that you're saying. And I'm definitely like, yeah, signing up for that when it's out there, you know? So tell us a little bit more about the patients getting paid, just because you're talking about it right now.
Yeah,
And then we can kind of go back to, but what you were saying, it's upcoming. So course and membership, what sort of stuff are you hoping to have up and going?
So this is about the 5th iteration in my head, but I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. So I think this is the one. My plan is I'm going to do a founding members launch, meaning I'll invite people in. I'll open it up and invite people in, understanding that this, at that point, it will be the lowest price it'll ever be. And if you join, then it will never change. Like, it'll always stay that price. But in exchange for that, I'm going to come to you and go, hey, what do you think about this idea? Or, hey, could you tell me, you know, what kind of courses you want? Now, I have a ton listed that I think would be great, but I'm not even going to build them until I talk to these people and make sure this is, in fact, what they want. So that was kind of a check mark and less pressure, because I don't have to have everything done before I launch, right? So that made me very happy. And then I thought, but I do want something in there when people get in. So I've actually interviewed, well, I think I've got 63 podcast episodes done under my belt. So I've interviewed some amazing people, mostly in the MS community, but that have a lot to teach. They're all experts in something different that could be really helpful. A lot of them are patient advocates, and so or have online businesses, and they've figured this thing out too. So I'm going to be interviewing them, and I'm interviewing patients that are getting paid to hear their story on how they did it, where they came from, how they figured it out, what they're doing, and what I think is like piece de resistance. I am asking them flat out, how much do you make? Because that's like this, why doesn't anybody talk about that? Like,
I know, right?
Oh, yeah.
What? Well, this is so new to everybody. When when Healthline contacted me and we agreed, yeah, this is a fit. Then they said, well, what's your hourly cost? I'm like, I don't have a fucking idea. I don't know.
That's what I would think. I'd be like,
lots of money. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, lots
what are
of
you
money.
willing to pay?
Yeah.
So I started
$700 an hour.
Yes. Because by God, I'm totally worth that much. But
yeah,
I'm pretty good at research, and I looked everywhere, and there is nothing about what anybody gets paid to do any of this stuff. So from my perspective, I think that's going to be something really enlightening and really helpful. So I'm absolutely going to be completely and totally transparent and share and like list out, this is what I do, this is how many hours it takes me, this is how much I get paid for it. Because I don't think anybody can make a good decision about even trying something without knowing how long does it take, how big of a pain in the ass is it, and how much can I possibly make. And so I've let everybody know that I'm going to be interviewing, you know, FYI, scary stuff coming up, but I'm going to ask you and expect you to answer. What do you need for that? Because I think that's really important.
I think that is really important. I'm so excited for what you have coming up, because it is sort of like a hush hush world.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's so weird.
I know it is weird. And even like, you know, online business stuff is still sort of like, oh, you know, they're doing online business, and is it really successful, and how successful, you know, are
can't
they?
make money online.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I made $1 million yesterday. Like, there's no in between.
Yeah. There's no in between. And then, like, you know, being chronically ill, one thinks, okay, well, are you, you know, grinding down 14 hours a day online in order to make it happen? Which the more that Chelsea and I are, you know, learning and interviewing with people and talking, it's not, you know, common to find a spoonie, a chronic illness person who is really working that much, because we're just not able.
Right.
No one should be working that much. Like,
That's true.
No one should.
True.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good way to get a chronic illness.
Yeah.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
hmm So it's really important what you're doing, and I can just so see it becoming like the place for patients to go and get paid. There's nothing out there like that right now
Mhm.
that I know of,
Yeah.
at least.
No.
And I think we don't always know what opportunities there are, and then maybe you aren't sure of what your skill set is.
Right.
That's another thing
Yeah.
too, is, can you learn how to do this stuff? And like you said, like, what's the payoff going to be if you do take the time to invest in yourself and learn how to do one of these skills?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about
And
this.
like, what even is it? Because so I've done some coaching just to see if I liked it and was any good at it, and I love it. And just talking to people and pulling out from them, what are you good at? What do you like? What do you enjoy? And then also sharing my journey and sharing, like, well, I think you'd be good at, posting, doing some social media stuff for a healthcare company, for instance. And they go, wait, what? Like, that's even
Mhm.
possible? There's so many weird, quirky things you can do online.
Oh goodness,
And,
yes.
I'm just right now talking about patient advocacy, but that's not what patients getting paid is limited
Mhm.
to at all. I'm talking about, I've got somebody who is seamstress and is teaching crochet. I have a woman who she started a membership and course to teach people how to make these cute little teddy bears, and then that was one course, and then people came back and said, well, I think I could sell these, but I don't have any idea how to do it, with business, online business. So now she's teaching that. So, it's across the board. It's a lot of different things, and
Mhm.
it's really my fondest hope is to make this first and foremost a community, because we're all in the same boat in terms of, we got dealt this shitty hand and we have a chronic illness. And so I think that's where we need to start. Like, let's support each other. Let's understand at our base level, we are all good human beings that got dealt the shit hand. And how can we help each other? And how can we support each other? And if that's, posting, hey, I'm trying to post something on Facebook right now, and I can't figure out how to do this in my cog fog, and somebody else jumps in, yay. Like, let's
Mhm.
help each other. Or somebody else I'm envisioning is going to come on and say, hey, I just heard about this position over here that's, totally remote, and I thought of you. So I want this to be really about the community and supporting each other. And absolutely, there's going to be a ton of courses in there. I've been talking to a lot. My plan was I was going to do everything. And then I got smart. Again, I was back in the garden pulling weeds. This is where I think my best, apparently. And I have a lot of weeds, so it works out for me.
That's so fun.
And I thought, I don't have to do this. I don't possess a lot of this knowledge. Number one, I would have to learn it. And then there's other people who have lots of knowledge and lots of experience. And you know what? This could help them too, because it's going to expose them to a community that they might not otherwise be exposed to. Um, so I next week actually am starting the interviews so the plan for the founding members will be the first probably couple of months will be 2 interviews a month and then 2 office hours a month. Plus I'll be in there a lot inside the community chatting with people and sharing, remote positions that are available and kind of coaching one-on-one and group coaching and whatnot. But the first interviews, I've got a patient who is getting paid, as a matter of fact, that I'm interviewing her, and then I'm interviewing an attorney who is a specialist in disability, because it occurred to me that there's going to be people who are on disability and they're worried about, can I work? How much can I work? How much can I make? What's the criteria? What are the requirements? Blah, 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 blah. So I thought that needs to be in there before anybody else gets in there.
Mhm.
That's
So those are
genius.
my first 2 interviews. And then, like I said, I'll have office hours where it'll just be me on a Zoom call, and anybody who wants to come and join in that's in that membership can come and ask any questions. And from that, and that will be available in there as a replay. So, we can all learn from everybody's questions.
Wow.
I
And then
love this so much.
the courses will come in after that.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is just so important. Like, I'm just sitting here like, this is amazing. I mean, Chelsea and I are both Pilates instructors.
I love
And
that.
yes, and I've been teaching Pilates for almost 5 years now. Yeah. But in the meantime, the whole time I've also had kind of like some kind of work from home side gig.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, I know you're enjoying this episode of the real life show Living with a Chronic Illness, but we're going to pause for a moment because I want to tell you about our most recent offering to help you live your best life. It is mywellnesshub.co. At mywellnesshub.co, you will find a comprehensive resource library for chronic illness individuals to live their best life. You know, all those hours you spent searching on Google to find that thing that's going to help your pain, or that thing that's going to help you feel better, or what type of diet to work, what books to read, what podcasts to listen to, you know, all the stuff. Well, we're putting all of that into one single resource library to make it easy for you to find the resources you need. And as part of that, we have our membership site, The Hub, where we're providing education for you at the low cost of $15 a month. You're going to get classes from experts around the freaking world, multiple times a month, multiple times a week. You'll have access to the recordings from the past, all sorts of really, really good stuff. So make sure you go check out mywellnesshub.co.
Mostly because actually as a Pilates instructor, you can make a pretty decent income if you can work a lot. But if you can't work a lot, you know, that's hard.
Yeah.
And so I've always had some kind of like side gig working from home. And I mostly just said yes to like whatever opportunities arose. One of them was some social media management. And then I did some work for a program through the Social Security Administration that actually worked with a lot of people who were on disability. And it was kind of doing admin, reception, work from home. And those were just, like you said, like pure luck out of someone I knew. And they either liked the way that I emailed and they said, oh, I think you'd be really good at being like a receptionist admin person. You speak well. And it's like, okay, I'll try it, you know?
Sure. Sign me up.
But beyond that, it is very hard to find working from home opportunities.
It is.
And so this is really exciting. And like, I know that I've said this is exciting and important like 6 times. I sound really repetitive right now and like uncreative with my words,
grateful.
but it's because I'm really excited and this is really important.
Yay!
Well, and
Good.
I know I'm really excited for this idea too, because one of the things that I feel like we hear a lot from our community is that, I think actually we had a post in our Facebook group not that long ago. Someone was like, so how does someone make a full-time living when you can't really work full-time, but all the healthcare that you need costs as much as a full-time living, if not more.
Right.
And it is a really, really hard balance to find, of like, how do you manage the financial side? And I don't hear a lot of people talking about the financial side of illness, and I think that's really important. Like, how much are you getting paid for this?
Yes,
what should you
important.
ask for an hourly rate?
Yes, all of that is really important, and that reminds me too that I'm also going to have people on there talking about insurance, because that's like the first question people ask: how do I get health insurance if I'm not working for an employer? And I'm going to try really hard to dial down my politics right now and not go full on Rambo, but I do a lot of activism work as well, and I am full on, you know, engaged in dealing with this bullshit that we've got going on in our healthcare system right now. And it's really important, and that's part of the activism, is going to our legislators and saying, no, you don't get it. Like, you've never been afraid of losing your insurance. You've never probably lost your insurance, and you haven't had to pay for insurance like this. And P.S., our insurance doesn't pay for everything. Yeah. And, you know, and just, and we can't work full time, and we need to be making more than full time, you know, all of that. It's just educating them and saying, you know, what if I was your daughter? What would you want to do? I mean, come on, people.
So
that's such a good point.
Oh, it's such a great point.
And I know.
Oh, go ahead, Chelsea.
I was gonna say, like, so I'm an independent contractor at my job, and when I'm not teaching Pilates, I work for myself. And so again, I don't get health insurance. My fiance doesn't have health insurance. He has his own business. And so since I'm the non-Spoonie side of our duo, I'm fortunate where I don't have to check the box of, do you have a pre-existing condition?
Right.
And so like, I know I have like a health share program, so it's not like traditional health insurance, but I definitely had the thought when I had to sign up for it of like, what if I had a chronic condition? Would I get approved? Would I be able to get, like, it's a great program, but and it makes me kind of, I like that you're adding in that insurance side.
Yeah, that's super important, because I mean, I have spent thousands of dollars, and I was married to my husband, and he had really good insurance through federal insurance, and so it was really great, and I was really fortunate in that sense. They paid for most stuff. But what I really began to find was all the things that helped me actually live a better quality of life daily were not covered by insurance.
Right.
Which is like nutrition, functional medicine, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, physical therapy. Some physical therapy is covered, but you might have to go through loops to get there. And so all the things that were going to really set me up to be able to work more are not covered. And so
crazy.
Chelsea and I have talked about this and what a problem that is. And so we actually are starting a nonprofit company. It's where all of our stuff has been sent to the IRS. We're in the waiting period of having it approved. And due to COVID, it's like a 3 to 8 months waiting period.
We're really hoping it's going to be shorter than 8 months.
Yeah.
I'll keep everything crossed for you too.
Thank you. Yeah. It might be the fall or it might be the spring, but when we get that up and going, hold on, my computer's trying to tell me it's gonna okay, I thought it was gonna restart on its own. And so in the fall or in the spring, and what it is going to be is to help people with the financial cost of various treatments, whether that's like to do with insurance, Mayo Clinic, medical, super $20,000 bills, or maybe it's that you'd really like 10 sessions covered with a functional medicine doctor, but you just can't afford it. And so you can apply through us and we will pay for it.
Oh my gosh, ladies,
or maybe,
I love that.
We're really excited about it.
Or like, I know we've got some friends that like massage. I've got friends with my fibromyalgia, MS, POTS that are all like, massages every week make or break the difference. But massages aren't covered by insurance.
Right.
So
which is stupid. I get an amen? That is ridiculous.
I know.
I did a series on the FUMS podcast show last year where I interviewed people from 5 different countries that had MS. And the reason I did that initially was because I was just wanting to know, how did you get diagnosed? Like, is it the same type of protocol in terms of like we have to get lumbar punctures and blood tests and all that kind of stuff? And then what treatments are available? Because I had been hearing from people from different countries asking me questions about treatments, and I'd say, well, of course it's whatever. And they'd go, we don't have that here, which blew my mind. I had no concept of that. So that was why I did these interviews with 5 different people. But in the end, it really was so illuminating about the healthcare in these different countries. And I could hear something different in their voices that it took me a while to figure out. But you know what it was? It was a lack of stress. They didn't first thing go, okay, I think I have fill in the blank, but now I need to come up with $2,500 to pay for a MRI. Or, I've got to pay for all this blood work, or I don't have insurance. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Should I eat? Should I take my meds? There is none of that in these other countries. And they are allowed to just take care of themselves. And so I strongly suggest that anybody that's interested, go listen to that. It's a 5-part series and it's so interesting and I so want to move. But I digress. I think we've got a chance that we might be doing something with this healthcare sometime soon. But I did want to make the point too about the insurance. How crazy is it? I know, Cassie, you said that your husband had good insurance, that you were able to be on that. Me too. But what if our husbands were beating us? And then our decision is kind of muddy by not going to, especially we got kids,
right.
And we have to have this insurance. Or why is it tied to jobs? Like, why can't it be individual? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Or you get divorced.
Don't get me started. Yeah. Or
and
you
you're going to
move.
lose
You
your
want to
insurance.
Right. My husband is a golf pro, and we had a great opportunity in Florida several years ago, which would have meant that he was home more. He works 6 days a week at a minimum. The only day he has off is Mondays, and that's a whole nother story. Anyway, he had an opportunity in Florida that would have been so good for our family. He would have been home a lot more, blah, blah, blah. But because of my MS, it didn't work out. This was before Obamacare, and with my pre-existing condition, nobody would have touched me. So we had to stay where we were. That's some bullshit right there.
Yeah.
And you know how many people are in unhappy jobs because they have to have that insurance? That's just insane to tie it to a job. I know I'm preaching to the choir, ladies. When I get up on this soapbox, though, it's hard for me to come off. But we're going to be talking about that in Patients Getting Paid.
Well, and I'm really glad that you brought this up because it is a really good point of, okay, yes, you can make money on your own talking about just your experience. You can have a job getting paid to be able to lie in your bed all day on the weeks that you need to. You can have that flexibility and that freedom. But how does that fit in? Because we do live in a country where healthcare is what it is at the moment.
Yes.
And so I think that is really, really intelligent of you to put that in at the beginning of this program, because it's an amazing program, and we've already said. But now I know for me, it would make me so much more comfortable about taking that next step with that knowledge of, okay, this is what that means for my disability or my insurance or all these different types of things. I think that's really important.
It's really important that you know. You've got to be on solid footing before you jump. You know? For sure.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful. You know, what's really funny is like we've been chatting for 45 minutes and I don't even think we looked at the outline for the episode or anything, which I love because, you know, like Chelsea and I have gotten on here for some interviews, and I feel like within like the first 5 to 10 minutes, you like kind of know if you click with somebody.
Totally.
And we love you.
Y'all were clicking. There's a lot of clicks.
We are so clicking. I think it was when I said vag that we knew.
It was. Then I was like, I'm sold. We're best friends now. Also, when you said it's 420, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
We are with our people.
Yeah. So this is just, I can't wait for the next few months for you to launch what's going on and for us to look further into the FUMS. I'm definitely listening to that 5-part podcast series because funnily enough, you know, a lot of people in the US that I've talked to about like insurance, medical costs, et cetera, have talked a lot of shit about other countries and, the US has the best medical system, et cetera. And I'm like, nah, because in England, where I'm originally from, and that's kind of like my like fallback of like, okay, if my healthcare here just turns to complete shit, then maybe I'll just move back to the UK where at least I can be covered. And when I was there last year, I was talking to my aunt, and she had to have a colonoscopy actually. She had a few symptoms, and it was mostly routine-ish because of her age as well. But I was like, oh, you know, how long did you have to wait? Expecting like 9 months,
right?
A year,
That's
because
the
that's
narrative.
what people say.
Right.
It was. She's like, you know, it was a little bit of a wait. Actually, it was about 5 weeks, and I was like, oh, okay. Right. They sent mine through for colonoscopy for like an emergency colonoscopy in the beginning, and that still took me almost 3 months, and that was like. That was like fast tracked.
Right.
And
that's funny you say that because I'm waiting till September till I can get in for a colonoscopy. So
see, yeah. And so, and I had one in January, and that was coincidental that they'd had a cancellation 2 weeks. So I got it in 2 weeks. Otherwise it was going to be until like the end of March. It was going to be over 2 months. So I'm really interested in listening to that series about the other countries and everything because
it was so enlightening, so eye-opening, so maddening. Oh my God, I was pissed every time. I mean, thrilled with these people. They were so open and wonderful and sharing and happy because they don't deal with the bullshit we're dealing with. I know. You know, we came at it, we all had MS, and so we're bonding in that way. And then you could just watch the divergence begin as soon as we started talking about these kind of of things and like the insurance and whatnot. And I believe it was the one from Norway was literally embarrassed. She started to say something. We were talking about insurance and how insanely great they have it. And she started to say something else about it. And she stopped herself. And I said, well, what was that you were going to say? And she goes, well, I'm a little embarrassed to share this. And I said, well, what is that? I can always cut it out. And she said, well, we get paid to go to college here. I'm like, wait, what was that? What was that? Could you say that again? And she said, I said, you mean like they pay for your tuition? She goes, well, no. Mm-hmm. It's really important that we have an educated society. So we get paid to go to school. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Honey, I'm moving and I'm taking the kids with me.
My cousin in England, she was becoming a surgeon, and now this was a few years ago, and with my like brain fog today, I now can't remember. I think she is a surgeon and she might be like a resident now. Mm-hmm. But in England, she went through that whole program, and it cost her like what a community college costs here. And I was just like, what? And then both of my parents went to Oxford University in England, and my son and I went there last summer. Yeah, they're super duper smart. Intellectuals. Yes, smarticles. And so my son and I went to visit last year, and we did this really great tour all around the campus, because that's where I grew up. At the campus, but the university parks is what they call university parks. And so
Tally-ho.
Yes, tally-ho. So we went walking all around there, and I was telling him about how college is designed differently, university is designed differently over there. And anyway, he expected it to be, outrageous expensive like Harvard or Stanford here, but it's not, because college isn't designed that way anywhere else.
That's the way it's set up.
Yeah. And so it's roughly the same-ish, depending what you're doing, as, like a state school. So there are a lot. So I also am very interested in how all the different countries work. And but I was also raised abroad and moved here. My parents obviously were abroad. And so I definitely have that perspective of like, America is absolutely fantastic and wonderful for so many things. And I love this country and I love living here, but there's also a lot that we need to fix.
There's some improvements that could be made. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that. Yeah. Starting in November.
Yes.
Which, who knows? Right now we're talking, it's the end of June.
Yes.
And I think this episode will come out sometime in like September, October time.
Yeah, or August. And so fingers crossed.
We'll kind of, when we get a little closer, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But Kathy, I have a question for you is by that, like kind of knowing like that this will come out in like a month or two.
Yeah, it might be.
What's the best way for people to kind of make sure that they're staying up to date with patients getting paid?
Yeah, so go to patientsgettingpaid.com/list, and you can get on the waiting list there. And that is both waiting for me to launch it, and eventually it will truly be a waiting list to get in, because I'm going to launch it, and I want to launch it as quickly as possible, but I want it to be right. And you know what? This is the beauty of working with people with chronic illness, because no one's pissed. Like, I have people on that list for a long time now, and not a single person's pissed. They're like, oh, we get it. We get it. Today you have cog fog. You were in bed for a week, whatever. And that is what it is. So the plan is to get it launched just as quickly as possible, but get on that list, and that you'll know when it launches. And I will launch and then close and make sure that I can handle who's in there, and then launch again at a higher price, though. So you'll want to get in there for the founding member. But get on the list, because I'm also emailing almost every week, unless I'm sick. And just like letting people know. I just sent one out yesterday, in fact, and I said, hey, I'm sending this from bed. And this is, just as an example, I've been down for a week, but I didn't have to ask for time off, and I'm not burning through vacation time. And I just want to give you the good side of this, and why you should be looking into this. And it doesn't have to be full time. It could, some hope. You could do side gigs, you could do one-offs, you could do part-time, whatever. But there's hope, and there's lots of different funky things, quirky little areas that I mean, there's no way I would have known about any of this. It's not inherent knowledge. Like, you've got to get in there to learn about these things and learn how to do them. So that's what I'm going to be providing people, and I literally can't wait. I'm so excited.
I
We're
can't
so
wait to.
excited for you. This is going to be such an incredible resource.
Yeah.
And if there's anyone that wants to kind of just keep up with you in general and all that you've got going on, your FUMSnow.com, your Patients Getting Paid, your podcast, is there a place that you like people to go just to kind of keep up with you?
Gosh, that's a good question. They really are two separate things that work really well together. So the Patients Getting Paid, really go to patientsgettingpaid.com/list and get on the waiting list. And then for FUMS, I would say go to FUMSnow.com. That's the website and the podcast. Everything is there.
Perfect.
I am on Facebook. Like, I feel like I live there. So both Patients Getting Paid and FUMS now have their own Facebook pages. So you can find me on there anytime. And, let's see, what is it on Instagram? Let's see, FUMS.now and Patients Getting Paid on Instagram.
Fantastic.
Yep. FUMS videos on YouTube and on Twitter.
You got lots of stuff.
I'm all over the place. I'm everywhere.
Well, I like that. We will definitely link as many of those as we can in the show notes.
Excellent. Well, ladies, I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing for the chronic illness community. This is great. I mean, there's something about a girlfriend vibe. You can't.
Thanks.
Right? I mean, there's
like
nothing better.
We're about it.
And coming together in a common goal to help others is just phenomenal and what the world needs. So thank you all for everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
In this way. And
Thank you. And thank you for everything you are doing.
Let me know. Yeah.
Yes. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please write us a review to help us reach more people like you.
If you'd like to connect with Cassie and I, you can find us on Instagram at The Real Spoonies Unite. You can also join our private Facebook community, Spoonies Unite, or you can visit our website, therealspooniesunite.com, for all sorts of resources and to stay up to date with our current projects. And don't worry, you can find all of these links in the show notes below.
Thank you to our wonderful Spoonie patrons for all your support, and you can become one too. That's right. All you have to do is go on over to patreon.com/therealspooniesunite, and you can get all sorts of extra goodies like videos of our episodes and more.
Any support is greatly appreciated. It helps enable us to create more content for all of you, as well as make this podcast sound better and better. Thanks for listening. We can't wait to be back in your ears soon.